my pleasure this morning to speak to Dr. Sergey Bogza, who is the next candidate for the music directorship of Symphonicity. Sergey, welcome to the station and to the area. I understand it's your first time in Virginia.
Yes, thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
Well, it's a great concert that you got lined up, an all-Russian program, and that's appropriate because you are originally from Russia. What brought you over to the United States?
We moved in 1995, and Russia at that point, in 1995, if you can imagine a country that has no laws and no protection. It was 6 years after the fall of the Soviet Union. My dad, at that time, we had 6 kids in our family, and he had no confidence that a Soviet regime wouldn't come back. And so when the opportunity came to move to the U.S., he took it.
Then you went on to University of Minnesota eventually and got your doctorate. Yeah.
Right. So after I graduated with my doctorate from University of Minnesota, I got 3 orchestra jobs. One job was in Mesabi and also an orchestra in Brainerd, and then orchestra in Little Falls. And so after about 2 years and about 96,000 miles on my car, I decided it was time to do something different. So here I am.
You got a good pedigree. You're coming into Symphonicity, and it's going to be a Russian program today,
Correct.
doing the seldom heard Carnival Overture of Glazunov.
One of the reasons why I programmed this piece, for the most part, is to kind of offset the emotionally draining Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff.
Right.
It's a great piece. It's a happy piece. It has a middle section that represents an organ. So one has a feeling when hearing this piece or performing that you're in the middle of a carnival, and it's so happy and frivolous. And in the middle section, one gets a feeling as if you enter a church because music comes to a halt, and it's so ethereal and reverent. And then only after a short while, the outside festivities call you back, and so you're back outside celebrating. The quality of Russian music, why I think people relate to it and love it, is that it doesn't bypass. It goes straightly into your bloodstream. It is satisfying in both ways. To really do Russian music, do it on an empty emotional tank. You really have to show up ready to completely throw yourself into it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It doesn't come off the page. And so it is rewarding in that way. It is exhausting on the other hand. And so I'm hoping that by the end of the concert on Sunday, we would have gone through a multitude of moods, states of being. We might age a little bit by the end of the concert, but there's a reception, so so we'll make it up for it.
Now, the Rachmaninoff Rhapsody on the theme of Paganini, the middle work, Knucklebuster for the pianist as well. Pianist for this concert is Michael Davidman, who I understand is from the Curtis Institute of Music. Have you worked with him before?
I've not. I've worked with many Curtis students and many Curtis graduates, but I haven't worked with Michael.
The last work, of course, is the Pathétique. It is that symphony that some people say represents the coming of death. Tchaikovsky had some sort of premonition that that the end might be near, and it was fairly near after the end of this symphony. But that's 45 minutes of emotional ups and downs, and I guess you really got to psych yourself up for that one.
Right. Yeah. There's no way of really doing this piece, as I've mentioned, on an empty emotional tank. Within any 2 minutes, you can go from joyfulness and happy, everything is right with the world, to woe is me, all is coming to an end. It's quite unfortunate that we lost Tchaikovsky so early at 53.
Yeah.
One can wonder, I mean, certainly with the symphony, he was going somewhere that he hasn't went with any of his previous works. And so one can only envision what would have happened had he lived for another 10 or 5 years.
So you got a great concert lined up, a little bit of rarity from Glazunov, Rachmaninoff's Rhapsody on the theme of Paganini, and, of course, the Tchaikovsky Pathétique. All Russian, and since you originally are from there, I guess it must be in your bones a little bit anyway.
Right. I mean, that's the exciting thing about doing Russian music is that you feel it directly. It's been quite fun putting it together in the last couple of rehearsals.
All right, well, that bodes for a good concert. It's going to be today at 3 o'clock. Pre-concert talk around 2:20. Tickets available at the door at the Sandler Center in Virginia Beach. Dr. Sergey Bogza, and we welcome you to the area and hope we're going to see a lot more of you. Wish you very well with Symphonicity, and let's all go to the concert. Sergey, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.